let's start off with what I think we will look back at if it shakes out like I think it's going to shake out, okay, or should shake out, I should say. I think yesterday was the national title in the SEC championship game, and people will say, ooh, some SEC bias coming from that joker to start this show. Yeah, some SEC bias. Look, this football game yesterday had more NFL players on the field than any other football game that we will have available this year. Fact. This football game had two of the best defenses in the sport available in this football game. Fact. All right, this football game was decided in the smallest of margins. Fact. This football game featured what is arguably two of the best football teams in all of college football. Fact, right? Not the deserving stuff, the best. You line them up against anybody, who does Vegas favor? These two football teams against anybody. They were the best this year or at this point in the season, okay? Georgia entered this football game having won 30 in a row. Saban entered this football game 12-1 in Atlanta. I think he'd won his last 7 in the city, okay? There were a lot of streaks on the line, and there was a lot of good history tracking into this football game for both sides. I don't really know where to start, so let's start with the top. Georgia opens this football game on fire, right? They come out firing, walk the football down after starting out, getting Alabama into a 3rd and long and sacking Milroe, right? The two things we talked about this week, getting Alabama into those 3rd and longs that they love to live in, right? While also getting that dude on the ground via some type of spy and making him go this way, right? That's exactly what we saw in that first possession. Jalen Walker gets a sack. They force a punt. Georgia, right down the field, right? 8 plays, I think 70 or 65 yards, 70 yards, whatever it was, all right? They walk it down right here. I have it. I don't know why I do this to myself. It's right here in the notes. I prepared. 8 plays, 83 yards, and a touchdown. Now listen to this. Here's the problem. Here's a real problem, all right? From that moment on, okay, Georgia over their next 7 possessions, they either turned it over or punted on 5 of them. All right, 5 of the next 7 possessions in a football game where you only had 10 total possessions. You spent 5 of the 7 in the heat of this football game, in the meat of this football game, all right, punting the football or turning it over 5 out of those 7. All right, so what happened? What was the adjustment? How did Alabama go about boxing you, okay, and doing exactly that over those 7 possessions? What did they do? I haven't had a chance to evaluate it, okay, go through the full all 22, just observed it from the box and observed it briefly through a quick TV viewing scan, and I'll just chart them right here for you. The first drive in this 7-drive series, okay, you got hosed on a PI call, I thought, on a 2nd down, on 2nd and 13, to Lad McConkey, in my opinion. All right, and then 3rd down, after a TFL on a screen pass on 1st down. All right, 2nd down, you get hosed on a PI. 3rd down, Carson Beck throws it into what looks to be double coverage because Alabama's in 2 man over, man under, all right? They got 2 safeties over the top, man underneath. You try to throw a darter over the linebacker's shoulder. It goes right over the shoulder of Brock Bowers, almost ends up into an interception. That's the first drive punt. All right, the next drive, you get stuffed on 3 runs in a row. On 3rd and 1, you try to run truck sweep. They over pursue. The linebacker, the corner plays it great. Boom, stuffed, punt. All right, the next possession, the 3rd possession on this 7-series run. It took you 13 plays to matriculate the ball 44 yards and settle for a missed field goal. The next possession, all right, you're moving the ball, 3rd and 1. Oscar Delp gets ran through by Terry and Arnold at the point of the attack on another truck sweep. If my memory serves me correctly, you end up punting on that football. The 5th possession of this series is the Arian Smith explosive. 51 yards, all right, 51 yards on that play. The rest of the drive, relatively dormant. All right, you end up settling for a field goal on that one. Obviously, the 6th possession in this string of events, you fumble the football inside your own 20. All right, give Alabama the football. They end up kicking a field goal. And then the next possession, you're sacked on 1st down. All right, a couple of incompletions, and you punt it back to them. You finish the football game strong, 2 touchdowns quickly. But at that point, man, the game, I'm not going to say the game was over, but we talked about it all week. You cannot make the last mistake. You did. You made not only the last mistake, you made the only mistake in this football game. We'll get to it here in a second. But those in the middle of this portion of this football game, in the key portions of this football game, when every possession is critical, All right. You spent 7 of those possessions really struggling to move the football when you were only getting 10 possessions total in this football game. We told you coming into this matchup that we thought this Alabama defense was every bit as elite as any Alabama defense has ever been. I promised you they would be really, really good on that side of the football. I didn't expect them to be even that good. They were really, really great on that side of the football. Also mentioned to you, they were huge at defensive tackle. They were really, really big, but we talked about their lack of mobility, right? Their lack of agility and athleticism from side to side. I think it's why you saw Bobo really try to attack their edges. You got to give credit where credit is due. Their corners added in run support really, really well. Their linebackers pursued and striked blocks and shedded blocks really, really well. But their ability to reset your offensive line, we saw that all night. They pushed pockets. They controlled run gaps and run lanes interiorly. All right, so when you see a coordinator, all right, when you see a coordinator starting to try to at least attack the edges, that leads to a lot of second guessing when the results aren't there. But I've always told you, when it comes to evaluating coordinating, the only thing I have to understand is why. Why are you doing what you are doing? And if you're attacking edges in the run game, the immediate answer is because you don't think you can reset the line of scrimmage in between the tackles. And I told you, that makes sense to me. So I think there's a lot of times when we look at this and we want to say, ooh, execution was poor. Execution was poor, but we can't always criticize the coordinator for execution being poor on those specific plays. There's a lot of other areas for criticism that we can open up to, but with regards to short yardage run game calls, there were 2 critical ones. I can justify them. Now, going back to the same type of play, I can understand why you want to be open for criticism there. I get it. But the idea that we want to stretch these guys, we want to attack their edges as opposed to going down the middle, guys, that's what we evaluated, and that's what we came away with. So, again, criticizing the execution is one thing. Now, there's a lot of things to go about blaming in this situation, right? A lot of things to blame in this situation for a Georgia fan. If you're a Georgia fan, listen to this, that 3-point loss, woo, you got a lot of things to point at, right? A lot of things to point at. First and foremost, and I'm going to be here with you to an extent, and you've had this one from other fan bases the last couple of years, so it's your turn to use it. Injuries, man. Brock Bowers was ginger every single time he got up Saturday. Every single time he got up from the ground Saturday, he was very, very ginger. Ladd limped off in the middle of this football game. Constantly limping off every single time he got up. Ra Thomas wasn't available, all right? Jamon Dumas-Johnson, or as we call him around here, Pop being available for this football game, you would imagine would have changed at least some of these short yardage, outcomes in this football game. Amarius Mims was out within a drive and a half in this football game, all right? You were down a lot of football players, and not just a lot of football players. You were down a lot of NFL football players on a game that was decided by NFL football players, all right? They don't make excuses in that building. They don't. They don't make excuses, but they sure as shit got a lot of them. They got a lot of them in this football game with regards to injuries. I thought the Amarius Mims departure in this football game was critical. It was really, really critical. When you got 2 NFL defensive ends like they do, 41 and 15, man, you can't. I'm not saying Xavier Truss was a weak link. I'm saying he wasn't as good as 65. And guess what? That's going to bear out in April. We know this. All right, that's going to bear out in April. So I thought that was a huge one. Alabama's ability to continue to push the pocket in a football game that was required to reset the line of scrimmage, that was huge, man. It was an absolutely huge loss. Look, they needed to be violent and they needed to reset the football or the line of scrimmage. They couldn't do so. And here's the other thing. Brock Bowers was available. He was. But watch the usage. Watch how they went and used that football player. Everything was linear. All right, we're gonna get you right out into the flat. We're gonna let you turn up on your right ankle. All right, your right ankle, not your left ankle. We're gonna let you turn up on your right ankle. All right, the next time you got a possession or a target, vertical seam shot. We are not gonna ask you to move. We're not gonna ask you to bend. We're going to ask you to go straight forward. A couple of the other touches were very much so design screens, design runs, right? We're trying to get him the ball in space where he just gets to go vertically. We don't have to worry about making anybody miss. We don't have to worry about any of that. We're getting yardage immediately. The usage showed me that he was, injured. So for those people out there, they're like, ooh, why didn't we design any of the routes that we've been running all year? Well, the guy probably couldn't run them. The same to be said about Ladd McConkey. Why was there no double moves? The guy can't double move. The guy couldn't double move Saturday. So the usage, they were available, but the usage indicated to me that they weren't 100% available. So we go into this football game as an offensive coordinating staff, and you tell me, all right, Ra Thomas, your NFL caliber X receiver, not going to be available. Ladd McConkey, we're not going to be able to really double move him. He's going to be real linear, coach. You're just going to be able to run him in a straight line or maybe be able to get him a comeback off of one side. All right, so that's what I got there. Oh, and then Brock Bowers, same thing. No double moves. He's not really as explosive as he normally is, all that stuff. So we're really, really handicapped. All right, so I don't necessarily love going into it, blaming it on injuries, but you certainly could. You could certainly say, hey, in January, after a month of rest, that football game looks totally, totally different. Right there with you. As a Georgia fan, you could also blame the refs in this football game. All right, the 4th and 4. For that call not to be reviewed, for that call right there not to be reviewed, when everybody knows the job of the review booth is one thing. You watch every single critical play. If there's any moment of hesitancy, you are in the headset of the white hat. The play is blown dead. We go to review. And people will say, ooh, that's really, really tough to do in the heat of the moment when people are running fast-paced offenses. They're getting on the ball, trying to limit you from actually reviewing the play. You're a ball knower. Congratulations, except consistency. They did it a quarter later on the Arian Smith play. So ask me this, how, as a review booth, are you able to call in, make that decision on Arian Smith's play? By the way, inarguably, I think a much more sustainable and clearer catch. The ball did not move, as opposed to the Bond catch, where as soon as his elbow hits the ground, the whole entire catch process has now started over. So, it was weird. Now, the other end of that discussion is saying, well, Kirby Smart's got to call the timeout. Call the timeout, make him review it. Man, that's a really tough ask for a football coach in that moment, which, by the way, not his job, your job as the review booth to make sure that doesn't happen. And here's the thing about it. Everybody, from the first view of it, went, ooh, that's not a catch. And if that alone, if even the small sense of hesitancy in the ear of the white hat right now, you got to blow it up. You got to call that play dead. I want to go to you, Jay Will. What did you think about just the 4th and 4 right there, not being able to get that play reviewed?
I mean, yeah, it was tough because, you just explained the exact reaction of everybody and everybody I was watching the game with of as soon as we see the review, it's like, whoa, that's not a catch, and all of a sudden we're moving on from the football game, and it's like, okay, well, tough break there. But then especially when they go and review the Arian Smith catch and you go and look at that, and it's like, well, I don't know how you even make the argument that wasn't a catch, but just some inconsistency. And, that's what we preach on this show is we want everything to be consistent. We want consistency is the key. And we just didn't get consistency. But then again, a lot more football to be played, had opportunities at the same time.
Had opportunities, and I don't love blaming refs, but I thought the PI discrepancies were a little bit funky. Yeah. Thought the Malachi Starks play, we teach and ask guys to get their head around all the time. He got his head around. It was mutual contact. Looked like Burton had his hands on him just like he had his hands on him. Mutual contact, DB's head around, not a PI. Put the flag in your pocket. I thought the critical down we talked about with Ladd McConkey, Terran Arnold clearly got there early. But that's a bang-bang play. Understand that. Holding is always one of these things. Okay, holding is always one of these things. But I thought there were some noticeable holes that were missed, especially when a guy is constantly bailing out of the pocket. And when a guy is constantly bailing out of the pocket, you're constantly going to have offensive linemen holding a little bit too long. So those things were critical in this football game. So, yes, Georgia fans, listen to this. You, in the moment of the most critical call of the game, you got hosed. You got an absolute reason to be upset about the referees in this football game. And I can't speak of it as a reporter, but as a fan, I can imagine you feel like this always happens to you because obviously the long history of Tyler Simmons on sides and all this stuff. So I get your reasons to immediately run to the Twitter machine and complain about referees. Let's talk about coaching. Okay, a lot of people want to complain about coaching. I thought the defensive plan was good to relatively great. I thought what you did defensively was exactly what you had to do. You had to constantly change the looks. You had to constantly play zone. All right, people are going to say, why are you in zone the whole time? Good luck. Play man coverage against that quarterback. Watch what happens. Watch him run for 60 yards, all right, on scrambles. So the design of this guy, the way that this offense is designed from Alabama, you will not see a football team try to play man against him because you can't. All right? Kirby talked about it all week. He will defy spies. The only time your spies got him on the ground in this football game is when he ran horizontally around the pocket. He never, I shouldn't say never, but I don't remember him just scrambling through the midline of this defense at all. So you did exactly what you needed to do from a schematics standpoint to limit him as much as you humanly possibly could. Defensively, I thought you did everything. I thought you overcome what I come to find out was an injury with Smile Mondon that we will give you further details over on patreon.com/Brooks Austin. Dude was playing through some real gutty performances from that guy the last couple of weeks. I found out, some other folks knew about it, I should say. I found out this week. So there's that. But you saw a bunch of rotations, saw a bunch of fresh faces, all right? Saw Xavier Sori, saw Jalen Walker, saw an obvious dedicated game plan to causing this guy havoc and sticking him in the pocket. So defensively, I didn't have any qualms. I didn't have any questions. I didn't have any concerns. I thought they did what they needed to do from a schematics basis. You didn't quite execute. There was a couple of things that busted, right? You had a freshman busted coverage on a big explosive to the running back out of the backfield. Again, probably by nature of the young player going, ooh, shit, short yardage, number 4, better keep my eyes on him. Ooh, there goes the back. All right, so a lot of it was because 4 was really, really good on Saturday. So I don't necessarily blame defensive coaching. Now, you knew it was coming. You knew it was coming. The dude put up 40 points per game this year. All right, dude put 40 points per game this year. Had a quarterback throw for 73%, completion percentage. All right, did everything that you guys wanted him to do offensively. Y'all were a top 5 offense in the sport. He puts up 24 points in a losing performance, and you guys want to shit on Mike Bobo. We knew it was coming. All right, we knew it was coming. So I'll have to go back. It's a cop-out answer. I'm going to have to go out back and study it closely. But here's what I've already told you. I don't love being hypercritical on offensive coordinators when we don't know what his ingredients were made available to him. All right? He's got to cook up this game plan, and we don't know what he's got. Hey, coach, you got to go make a 5-star dish. You got no salt today. Okay. All right, let's go figure that out. Now, I can tell you, based off the braces that were on 19 and 84, those dudes were not 100%. We already told you based off the usage, they were not 100%. Okay? Let me see this. What do I got here in the notes? My notes were really, really scattered here. Against a team that had NFL guys to cover you, you didn't have the NFL guys available. We already talked about that one. Okay, no rah-rah, no 100% Lad, no 100% Brock. Those are NFL football players, and they weren't 100% made available for this football game. And I know the other criticism, so that to me is the conceptual design. You're not going to be as unique because you don't have the weapons available on the outside in passing concepts. There's a lot of people that I've seen on social media that have done he put the hanker or he put the brakes on or limited Carson Beck's performance. And guys, I've been a Carson Beck defender all year. I've told you how great he was. We've talked about how efficient he is, talked about how he's a first-round draft pick or potential to be so, talked about how he's going to be successful in the NFL. One of the best processors and decision-makers we've evaluated on this channel in a long time. That being said, that was not that dude's best performance. That guy put the ball at risk 3 times that off rip that I can remember right now. 2 of them, one of them was in his own end on a scramble. The other was in the red zone. 2 uncharacteristic mistakes. And you talk about consistency on this channel. What did I talk about having to have Monken do to Stetson Bennett in these critical football games the last couple of years? Do you remember? I know I throw these things on you guys all the time. Hey, recall what I've been saying the last 3 years. But do you remember?
No, I don't.
But you do recall Stetson Bennett having these stretches of football games where he looked absolutely panicked, absolutely stressed, absolutely like he was about to put the whole entire game at risk. All right, and what did I say? It was the coordinator's job to settle that guy down. You cannot ask a guy that's putting the ball at risk to go out and win the game or be the reason that you win the football game. You have to get basic. You have to be vanilla because for the first time all year, the guy's putting the ball at risk. Not like putting the ball at risk selectively. Not like, ooh, we're hot. Let's see what we can get at. No, you were down in a football game and the guy was throwing the ball to the other jersey at times. So that's going to change how you go about calling football games. I know it wasn't his best performance as a coordinator, but I can justify a lot of it. Here's the main problem. Here's where I got legitimate criticism. Why are you getting cute inside your own 20? I know reverses have worked for you guys for 3 years, but every single reverse I can recall that's been a big hitter for y'all has been in the middle of the field. It's been at the point of the football game or at a portion of the field where you can put it at risk. Not down seven in an SEC championship game, ball inside your own 15. That's not when you've gotten cute. That's not. And honestly, as a coordinator, that's a no-no, in my opinion. In my opinion, when you're inside your own 20, you are basic. You have to be. You can't put the ball at risk. And that's exactly what they did. And you can do execution. That play has been executed. I guarantee you right now, there has been minimal. I would bet zero. There's been 0 times that ball's been put on the turf in practice. 0. That play, they've ran that play so many times over the last several years. The reverse, the pitch back to the orbit motion guy. So many times. It's never been put on the turf. But that's a no-no call. That's not in the – when you have a play sheet, I wish I still had it on my desk. I used to have one from one of my favorite coordinators. I had his whole entire play sheet. And when you watch these good coordinators, they got do's and don'ts. They got sections of their play calls. We call this on this. And reverses are not in that inside your own 20 play call. So if you got beef, it's not the short yardage play calls in the run game. I can justify it. It's not the lack of diversity in the passing concepts. I can justify it. The last mistake, the big mistake, the only mistake, I got questions. You can't do that. You can't try to be cheeky in that moment. And we said it last week, Jay Will, and I played it and tweeted it out last night. You guys knew it was elite criticism the moment I said it, because I heard double ums from both of you. In this football game, historically, you cannot make the last mistake. You can't. Keely Ringo's pick 6, last mistake, cost Bama a national title. Okay, the Stetson Bennett pick 6 in the SEC championship game that year cost Georgia an SEC championship game title. Every single time these two teams meet up, the last team who blinks, the last team who makes a mistake loses this football game. I had a buddy text me as soon as the fumble happened, Georgia fan. All it said was last mistake. That happened what? Start of the fourth quarter?
Yeah,
midway through the fourth, late third quarter? That was it. That was over.
Mm-hmm. My entire belief in this football game was you score 30 points, you win the football game. If you would have scored 30 points, you would have won the football game. That last mistake hindered you from being able to do that. And I knew the missed field goal too. I mean, I just knew in those types of football games when those happens, and it sucks for Woodring because he's been so good for Georgia all year. When that happened, it's one of those moments like, dang, man.
And the false start.
Yeah.
I've had one of these.